Here is our next work of art. This is by, like I said, a student of Boucher. His name is Jean-Honoré Fragonard, and the title is The Swing. Now, this piece here, it's just so fun. Let's look at it just based on what we see initially. We see a young woman in this fantastic kind of coral pink uh, gown, extremely expensive, and she's being pulled rather than pushed on a swing by this guy back here. Let me zoom in on him. And if we were alive at this time, when this was painted, we would easily recognize her as being extremely elaborately dressed, like kind of over the top extreme stuff. So she's very ostentatious in her costume, even for the Rococo period. And this guy back here, he's an old, what's the word? Layman of the church. So he's not a priest, but he's an official who works within the church system, and he's an older man, and he's dressed in a more conservative way, and he's here with her on a date. This age discrepancy is something you're supposed to notice. Now, they're not the only ones in this painting. What's this? What's going on here? Her young, hot, sexy man lover. He's hidden himself in these bushes. Look at that. Behind the rake, right? And he's got this view. Now, she's very flirtatiously kicking off her little pink slipper, and he's looking up at her. Now, what we are not understanding quite yet is that in terms of the history of fashion, at this time, women with those heavy corsets and these heavy skirts, if you need to go to the restroom, you're not going to be like taking all of that off. No, instead, you lift it up and you squat. So your pants, or your underwear, I should say, are a pair of pants with a cut down the middle so that when you squat, you can go to the bathroom. So her pants are giving him a view. And if we were alive at that time, we would know about that kind of underwear and we would be like, oh, yes. And we're not supposed to be sensationalized in a way of saying, like, oh, she's on a date with this guy. Why is she doing that? Because remember what our statues are telling us. And the statues are saying, shh, right? Look at little Cupid here. He's next to the young lovers and he's doing this, like, shh, keep it down. Cupid is probably the one who started all of this mischief, right? And the old man back here, he's quite literally in the shadows. He has no clue. He's in the dark about the whole situation, the whole matter. In terms of the characteristics of the of the Rococo, arabesque lines. She herself is a gorgeous arabesque line. The foliage, ugh, so soft, so pillowy, and those branches, just large arabesque lines all over the place, right? Subject matter, yes, the frivolity of it all. Pastel color palette, you can still have heavy shadows with a pastel color palette. It's just that the colors are not heavily saturated, but they can still go from light to dark. So we have our characteristics of the Rococo. And if you are looking at this and going, Miss Cortez, this is in Frozen. You're right. Disney's Frozen, the movie has a quick, fun shot of the swing, or a modified version of it in the musical part at the beginning when Princess Anna is singing "For the First Time in Forever," and then she's running through all the gallery, she jumps in front of the swing. But obviously the swing for Disney, it's more G-rated, so her young lover, is the one that's pushing her, and there's no scandalous crotch shot going on. Somebody took an art history class. Now, because I love Fragonard as well, I want to show you this series of works. This is for another of Louis XV's mistresses. Her name was Madame du Barry. Now, Madame du Barry, she's quite a character. She is from a lower class background, and not a lot of the French court really liked her. She was just loud, over the top, and frivolous. She was known for these big, poofy hairdos with all of the powder, and then she'd plume on top of them these white ostrich feathers, to the point where the royal chef made a soup called the crème de Berry, and the crème de Berry is cream with boiled cauliflower. And it's very white, and there's these little blobs of cauliflower popping around. He called it the crème de Berry to make fun of how she has these big bouffant white powdered wigs of her hair. I mention her because she had Fragonard do a series of paintings called The Progress of Love, and this is the meeting. And so what we see is a young couple, and they're meeting in this lush garden, this walled garden. In fact, he's come up a ladder. So this must have been some kind of a secret engagement that they planned to meet here at this time. But they're not looking at each other because what? What's happened? Oh, they hear something. Maybe they've been discovered. The statues are telling us that Aphrodite, goddess of love, has taken away her son's arrows. She's like, oh, naughty boy, did you make these two fall in love? No, no, no. And he's like, Mom. The series of paintings, The Progress of Love, starts with this one here. So we're in the same garden, the walled garden, and we see them playing a game of tag. And there's 1, 2, 3 girls who are tumbling through the garden, and he's chasing after them. And they're like, ooh, boy, cuties. And then, oh, not cuties anymore. Now they're trying to meet in the garden. And then the next one, in The Progress of Love, is one of their friends wants to draw her because she's beautiful and she's a model of elegance and grace. And so she's here and her friend is drawing him. Oh, he gets to be the young lover that she has to crown with the flower wreaths, and they get to spend all this time together chit-chatting while they're modeling for their friend artist. And then it finishes, or the finale is him giving her a love letter. And they're kind of, he's like whispering into her ear, and she's blushing as she reads his love letter. And there, Aphrodite's happy, and he's like, okay, give me back my arrows. Oh, goodness. More, because I love them. This is another Fragonard. This is called The Stolen Kiss. And this young woman here, she should be inside with all of the old ladies playing a game of cards. But instead, she snuck out, and she's maybe like, oh, I had to go get some more embroidery stuff. But really, she came to the back door where it's dark outside, and her young hubby, or young cutie, he's been out here, not hubby, cutie, he's been out here, and they're quick little kiss before she has to go back in there. Oh my goodness. She's being deceitful in a very, sweet way. Look at this fabric here. Boucher is helping us understand her being two-faced with this striped fabric. Keep in mind, or keep an eye out for striped fabric in art, because often, not every time, but often, artists will use stripes as a way to indicate somebody is untrustworthy or two-faced. Because, well, think about it. Striped fabric, is that a sheer fabric with satin ribbons running through it, white satin ribbons, or is it a white satin fabric with sheer ribbons running through it? It's both. It's two-faced, just like she is. One more. This one's called The Bolt. And what we have is this young couple, and they've been tumbling around in this bed, and maybe they heard something at the door, and so, oh, they gotta lock the bolt. She's like, hurry, lock the door and take me again. Oh, it's just crazy. And Yves Saint Laurent did a gender swap version of this with Kate Moss. And you can see there's the bolt and there's the swooning figure. This one's much more sweet. Look at this one. This is a Boucher called Girl Reading, or The Reader. And you can see that there's still the use of that soft color palette, but you still can get these like vibrant lemon yellows, right? And then also it's at the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. So if and when you get there, take a selfie with her. She's beautiful. She doesn't disappoint. And then send it to me. Whew.